Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to East Central Missouri and the world, and welcome to the James Strong Show podcast number 247. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making us a part of your day. I appreciate it. This podcast was recorded on the morning of Saturday, December the 11th, from the James Strong Studio in Western St. Charles County. My essay today is going to be on a rock musician. Somebody who you may know about, you may have never heard of, you may have heard of, but I don't think you knew the full story behind this guy. So my essay today is going to be about Bob Welsh. The Bob Welsh you never knew. Who's Bob Welsh? He was with Fleetwood Mac. He had a solo career. He was with countless other bands, but the guy was a very talented and very tortured individual whose life ended far too soon. So my essay today is going to be about the Bob Welsh that you never knew. Before we get into the essay, a couple of news bites, local and regional news bites. Lots of storms and tornadoes here in East Central Missouri and in the Midwest in general. Lots of buildings down. Here in Missouri, there was a house taken off its foundation. Just across the river in southern Illinois, there was a Amazon warehouse that collapsed, killing people. Early reports are that there's up to perhaps as many as 100 people killed in Kentucky. So this story will continue to develop. It's not even 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning here as the sun comes up and more investigations are done. I think we're going to find out a whole lot more damage from the storms here in the Midwest. There's a Belgian death metal band, I should say, with a very interesting name. The name, Omicron. I think that's hilarious. A Belgian death metal band with the name Omicron, the latest COVID-19 variant that's out there. That's fitting that a Belgian death metal band would have a name like that. The Jaguar update. I posted the newest photos of the 1951 Jaguar Mark 7 that we're in the process of redoing, rebuilding, bringing back to life. And we're getting closer all the time. All sheet metal work is done. Most of the body work is done. I mean, it's been puttied. It's been sanded. It's hopefully in the next week or two, it will be painted. Not sure the status of the engine yet. Engine and transmission have to be rebuilt as well. And again, I'm hoping to get this thing back to my shop by February, March is what they're telling me. Hopefully that's going to happen sooner rather than later. And I continue to take the old parts that I took off the part and rebuild them. I recently just did the blower motor, and it's looking good, going through electrical components right now. I've been on the phone with dealers that I need to buy parts for. What do I need to buy? What can I rebuild? What's available? What's not available? So progress continues to be made on the Jaguar, 51 Jaguar Mark 7. So stay posted for more results. I had a business trip this week. Also, I was in Ohio, and actually, I'm pleased to report that things are just about back to normal. It seemed like a normal trip. Everything went fine. Airfares are lower than they've been in the past. Rental car fees are a lot higher than they've been in the past. Round trip to Columbus, Ohio was, $130, something like that. But the rental car was over $100 a day, and that's the cheapest thing that they had. So hotels were easy to come by. Hotel rooms were reasonably priced, not cheap, not expensive, just reasonable. No restrictions. The hotel said, you need to wear a mask in here. And I did until I saw that nobody else was, including nobody that worked at the hotel. So I figured, if the folks that work here aren't going to wear one, neither am I. No restrictions on restaurants. Most of my customers, in fact, all my customers require that you get your temperature taken. Some want to see a COVID-19 vaccine results. You got to wear masks in all the places. But other than that, it's business as usual. Traveling nowadays, so that's a good news, and hopefully this Omicron variant will not put a monkey wrench in this better oiled machine or machine that's oiled better than it has been in the past. How's that? Okay. Now, one of the things, and again, I'm going to segue into my essay about musician Bob Welsh, the Bob Welsh you never knew. Part of what made my trip good this week is lots of driving, as my trips normally are. I fly into an area, work the area, fly home. But I rented a vehicle, a nice vehicle, a Chrysler Pacifica, great minivan. In fact, the minivan was the cheapest thing I could rent, believe it or not. But I had access to Sirius XM radio. And for usually, you don't get that. But I think you got to pay extra for it. I'm not going to pay extra for XM radio, but for whatever reason, maybe it was on free, maybe they threw the switch and didn't mean to, but I had Sirius XM in my car the whole trip, which lots of good music. I put it on my favorite Sirius XM channels: 70s music, 80s music, classic rewind, classic vinyl, and the bridge, which is kind of soft rock music. So I went back and forth and listened to a lot of this music, made the trip a whole lot more manageable, a whole lot more fun. Lots of Fleetwood Mac, lots of Bob Welsh. And it got me thinking, Bob Welsh is kind of the forgotten guy when it comes to Fleetwood Mac. Now, you may think to yourself, who is Bob Welsh? First of all, I'm not talking about the former Dodgers pitcher. I'm talking about the musician Bob Welsh. You may think, oh, yeah, I remember him. He had a cup of coffee with Fleetwood Mac early on. Or he was a one-hit wonder with that Sentimental Lady song. He was just a drug addict who died young. The answers to those, or the responses to the answers to those questions are no, no, and no. Bob Welsh to say he was an interesting individual is a understatement extraordinaire. Rock and roll is a business just like anything else, just like sports, just like whatever you do, just like manufacturing industrial supplies, just like selling industrial supplies. It is a business. And it's a tough business. And it's a tough business because there's so much money on the table, so much money involved, so many people that have nothing to do with music, or should I say, so many people who can't sing or play an instrument, pulling the strings, holding the right cards for the music industry. And quite often, the talented ones don't know anything about business. The talented ones don't have guidance. They just want to play music and are taken advantage of. I said this before and I'll say it again. I truly believe that in listening to some of the musicians out there, some who have been successful in the past, some who are successful now, I will say that there are many people, individuals who sing in church choirs who have more talent than some of the people who have achieved tremendous success in the music business. So while you have to have talent, the most talented are not necessarily the ones who are most successful and make the most money. Does that make sense? And again, this is not an always thing. This is a sometimes thing. When you and I listen to music, we think, we just listen to the music. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And there's so much more to it. There's the artistic ability of the individual. There's the ability of that artistic individual to perform in a studio, to take the criticism of amending what they do, to get along with the other band members, to going on stage and singing, to going on the road to go on stage and sing. There's so much to it. And the politics, any business, the more The more money involved, the more politics are involved, okay? And there's luck, being in the right place at the right time with the right people, with the public wanting the right thing. All of this has so much to do with the success of any musical artist. I did a lot of research on this after I listened to Bob Welsh. I thought, you know what, this would be a good guy to do an essay on. And the essay, again, like I said, is the Bob Welsh You Never Knew. My sources for this essay are the Cleveland Plain Dealer, People Magazine, The Hollywood Reporter, secondhandsongs.com, and the Penguin Q&A site. What that is that's the question and answer site on the Fleetwood Mac website. Robert Lawrence Welsh Jr. He was an American musician. He was a member of Fleetwood Mac from 1971 to 1974. 71, 72, 73, so better part of 4 years. He did also have a successful solo career back in the 70s with singles of Hot Love, Cold World, Ebony Eyes, Precious Love, Hypnotized, and his signature song, Sentimental Lady. Welsh was born into a musical family, born in Hollywood, California. His father, Bob Welsh Sr., was a producer and screenwriter for Paramount Pictures. He produced films starring Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, the Road films. He produced the 25th Annual Academy Awards TV special. That was in 1953. The Thin Man television series from 1958 to 59. He produced that as well. And his mother, Templeton Fox, was a singer, actress who worked with Orson Welles in the Mercury Theater in Chicago and also appeared in TV and movies between 1962 and 1979. So Welsh had an introduction to the business, the show business, okay? Welsh's first instrument was a clarinet. He then switched to guitar. He had interests in jazz, rhythm and blues, and of course, rock and roll. He was accepted into Georgetown University, but instead moved to Paris, planning to attend Sorbonne University in Paris. Welsh told People magazine back in 1979 that when he was in Paris, quote, I mostly smoked hash with bearded guys 5 years older than me and spent most of my time sitting in the Do Margot Cafe. He then returned to Southern California, where he briefly studied French at UCLA, but didn't complete a degree. In 1964, Welsh joined the LA-based vocal group Seven Souls as a guitarist. The Seven Souls were involved in a Battle of the Bands competition and lost out. It's a shame because the first prize was a contract with Epic Records. Who did they lose out to? Sly and the Family Stone. Good competition. Now, in 1967, the Seven Souls did record a single called I'm No Stranger. It made no impact at the time it's released, despite an issue in the U.S., France, and Italy. But its B-side, entitled I Still Love You, has since become a Northern Soul anthem, with original copies selling up to 400 pounds apiece. That's about $500 to me and you, $550 in U.S. dollars. Seven Souls broke up back in 1969. Welsh subsequently returned to Paris and started a trio called Head West. That wasn't successful either. He later told People magazine that his time in Paris from 69 to 71 was living on rice and beans and sleeping on the floor. Then he got his break in 1971. He auditioned for another band called Fleetwood Mac at Kiln House, which was the band's retreat in England. The band had recently lost one of his front line members, guitarist Jeremy Spencer, and was looking for a replacement. A lady named Judy Wong, who was a friend and part-time secretary for the band, had recommended her high school buddy, Bob Welsh. The band had a few meetings with Welsh and decided to hire him. They didn't hear him play, but they listened to some of his tapes, which was good enough for them. Welsh was assigned rhythm guitar, backing lead vocals. In fact, he was the backing vocals and to lead guitarist Danny Kerwin. He eventually lived in the band's communal home called Benefold, located in Hampshire, UK. The band's first album to feature Bob Welsh and John McVie's wife, Christine McVie was Future Games, and it was recorded at Vision Studios in London. The next album, Bare Trees, was mostly recorded at Delane Lee Studios in Wembley.